Design a Study in 50 Steps, Part 10. Let's talk about sampling strategies. Yesterday, we talked about going from your population to a sample of people that you want to invite for your study. And the event that you can't just include the whole population. We talked about identifying pathways of how will you get to those people. The other thing you want to ask yourself is how am I actually picking these specific people? I think sampling strategies is something that gets way overcomplicated. So here's how I think about it. Convenience sampling, random sampling, everyone's included. Those are the three I think about. Convenience is I'm inviting people to be in my study because I know them or I know of them and they meet all of my criteria. Fun little twist on that would be a snowball sample where it's I'm inviting all the people I know or I know of, and then I'm asking them to identify 3, 5, 10, however many more other people or organizations that also meet that criteria so that they can be invited to the study too. And so on, right? You snowball until you get to the magic number that you want to include. Random sampling would look more like I have access to this whole population and I'm able to randomly pick people out of it to invite to participate in my study. Or it could be something like I know these 5 organizations all include people that match the criteria for my population. I'm going to randomly select 20, 100, however many people from each of those organizations to include in my study. The difference would be I'm picking people I know who meet the criteria versus I'm just randomly pulling names out of the hat for people to join my study. Go down the same organizational pathway, be here's the organizations I'm partnering with. And one person can be I'm doing convenience sampling, I'm picking people I know and asking them to snowball it. And another person could be I'm using a random sampling strategy. Draw names out of a hat. Another type of random sampling to consider is stratified random sampling. Let's say you're partnering with an organization and it has 3 hubs. One's in Chicago, one's in New York City, and one's in Miami. And you're I want to use random sampling, but I'm kind of worried that I won't have equal representation across Chicago, New York, and Miami. To fix this, you could stratify the sample and be I'm going to randomly select 50 people from the New York office, 50 people from the Miami office, and 50 people from the Chicago office. Okay, so that's convenience and random. Then there's just everyone. That's when it's I've identified this pathway to the people who are in my population to get access to them, and I'm actually just going to invite all of them. I think that's feasible. I think that's reasonable. They're all invited to be in my sample. Convenience, random, everyone. Personally, I don't think there's good or bad. I tend to err towards everyone, but I also typically do studies where it's a very contained population and I can get access to everyone who meets the criteria. And if I didn't do everyone, I would want to do stratified random. Because as I said before, I like to keep my studies really tight and neat. And I would want to be able to spell out this was a specific criteria that I cared about, and we randomly selected people inside so everyone had the same chance of being in the study or not. I still knew these key characteristics would be represented, but that's just me. At the end of the day, again, what matters is being able to defend your choices. There is a certain group of people or organizations or things that you want to include in your study. How are you finding them? And what is the fair, defensible way you're using to invite certain people and organizations and not others? So that at the end of the day, when you get your results about your sample, you feel yeah, what's true about this sample is true about the broader population. Because this sample is representative. You probably hear that a lot, right? And what it means is the people I included in my study reflect the characteristics of the broader population. So even though I just studied this smaller group of people, I feel confident that what I learned from them is true for the bigger population. More on sample in step 11.